simultaneously starting construction of inter-level boarding schools.
Widespread power outage in Ukraine after large-scale Russian attack.
Breakthrough solutions to achieve a growth rate of over 12%.
Hello everyone, you're watching today's news on NTV channel. My name is Đăng. Let's get started. On the morning of November 9, 72 new boarding schools of primary and secondary students in border communities across the country began construction, both in person and online. In Nghệ An province, a formal groundbreaking ceremony was held for 9 of these schools, with Hình inter-level boarding schools as the main site.
The program to build 100 inter-level boarding schools in border communes, Phase 1 2025-2026, which is part of the overall investment policy to build 248 schools in border communes, is a key task. It serves to concretize the policy of the Politburo and the government on developing education in disadvantaged areas, narrowing the regional gap, creating equality in accessing education, and contributing to socio-economic development and maintaining national defense and security in border areas. The total investment for the construction of 100 schools is nearly 20,000 billion VND. Also, on November 9th, along with Han Lam Commune, 8 other border communes in Nghệ An, including Nhon Mai, Kengju, Bạc Li, Quế Phong, Tri Lê, Tam Thai, Mon Son, and An Son, simultaneously commenced construction of inter-level schools. Speaking at the groundbreaking ceremony for the inter-level boarding school in Han Lam Commune, Chairman of the Provincial People's Committee Le Hong Ving emphasized that the 9 schools in Nghệ An are being implemented in accordance with the guidance of the Politburo. The chairman of the Provincial People's Committee requested local party committees and authorities to proactively coordinate, create all favorable conditions for site clearance, arrange land funds, resources, and support the construction unit, ensuring progress, quality, and absolute safety during the implementation process. Together with 71 other schools nationwide, at the central site, Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh performed the ritual of breaking ground to commence the construction of Yen Quang, Commune Inter-Level Boarding School for primary and secondary education in Thanh Hoa Province.
Ukraine is experiencing widespread power cuts after Russia carried down a large overnight air attack across the country. President Volodymyr Zelensky said that 9 regions were targeted in the assault.
According to the report, 2 people were killed and 11 injured by a drone attack that struck a 9-story apartment building in the city of Dnipro in central Ukraine. Altogether, 10 people have been killed by Russian strikes in the last 24 hours, according to the Ukrainian State Emergency Service, and nearly 50 injured. Of the 45 missiles fired, some of which were ballistic weapons, the Ukrainian Air Force said only 9 had been intercepted. Some 450 drones were also launched. President Volodymyr Zelensky said the attack was a show of force and said Ukraine was working with the U.S. to purchase more Patriot air defense systems.
The Syrian Interior Ministry announced that security forces have arrested over 70 people in a large-scale operation targeting Islamic State cells across several provinces.
The operation included 61 raids and 71 arrests in various Syrian provinces, targeting ammunition and weapons depots, as well as dens containing explosives belonging to the organization. According to the statement, the operation has so far resulted in the dismantling of several terrorist cells, the arrest of numerous wanted individuals, and the seizure of materials and evidence linking them to terrorist activities. Syrian Interior Ministry added that the campaign reaffirms the firm commitment of Syrian security authorities to protecting the nation's security and stability. Importantly, the large-scale security campaign comes just 2 days before Syrian interim President Sharia is scheduled to be hosted by U.S. President Trump at the White House on November 10th, amid reports that he will sign an agreement to join the U.S.-led global coalition to defeat IS.
Coming up next are some updated news.
On behalf of the Politburo, General Secretary To Lam signed and issued Conclusion Number 203, which calls for the commencement of a series of nationally important projects in the fields of transport, energy, and infrastructure starting in early 2026. The key projects mentioned include the Eastern North-South Expressway, the Ninh Thuan Nuclear Power Plant, and the International Railway Line. These projects are expected to create a breakthrough for socio-economic development in the new period. The Politburo requires all levels and sectors to urgently complete preparations for key financial, monetary, and infrastructure markets. Concurrently, the Central Policy and Strategy Committee is assigned the task of formulating a resolution and a specific action program aimed at achieving the goal of double-digit economic growth during the 2026-2030 period.
In the 2026-2030 period, Nghệ An Province will focus on deploying 24 key projects to create a breakthrough in the development of infrastructure, industry, and services. Within the public investment portfolio, the province selected 9 crucial infrastructure projects utilizing state budget capital, including the Hanoi-Vientiane Expressway, especially Vinh Than Thuy section, Nghệ An, and the upgrading and expansion of National Highway 7 and National Highway 48. Upon completion, these projects will open up new development spaces and enhance the province's competitiveness. Concurrently, Nghệ An is calling for socialized investment, private sector investment, into 15 major projects across the fields of transport, industry, energy, services, education, healthcare, culture, and tourism.
The Politburo has recently issued Conclusion Number 205, outlining a series of breakthrough measures in the recruitment, appointment, utilization, and remuneration of officials. Accordingly, Vietnam will establish a national talent database, build a talent nomination mechanism, and develop a legal framework to attract and employ Vietnamese talents overseas who have achieved success in developed countries. One of the most notable features of the document is the introduction of special recruitment without examination. This applies to young scientists under 47 years old, holding the title of associate professor or professor, leading experts, and highly qualified professionals in key and strategic fields.
The 20th Nghệ An Provincial Party Congress for 2025-2030 term set a goal of achieving an average GRDP growth rate of 12% or higher, exceeding the national average. This goal reflects the province's strong ambitions for a major breakthrough, aiming to make Nghệ An a national growth hub in the near future.
This determination stems from the solid development foundation of the 2021-2025 period, when the average GRDP growth rate reached over 9%, among the highest in the North Central Coast region. Numerous projects, such as the Qua Lo Deep Water Port, the Southeast Economic Zone, Vinh International Airport, and the North-South Expressway, are forming a strong inter-regional connectivity infrastructure system.
Thực tế, nếu chúng ta mà không đặt cái mục tiêu tăng trưởng cao trong nhiệm kỳ tới thì rất khó để tỉnh Nghệ An có thể phấn đấu.
In reality, if we do not set a high growth target for the next term, it will be very difficult for Nghệ An Province to strive to become a moderately developed province by 2030, in accordance with the spirit of Resolution Number 30 of the Politburo.
According to Dr. Nguyen Sai Dung, a member of the Prime Minister's Policy Advisory Council and former deputy head of the National Assembly Office, this is a very high target. However, he assesses that this target is feasible thanks to the achievements of previous years.
The target is high, but it is not unattainable. Nghệ An has already established industrial zones and is one of the provinces attracting the largest foreign investment in the country. If Nghệ An wants to grow, it must apply science and technology and national reform environment.
Dr. Nguyen Tu An, Director of Policy Research at VinUni University and former Director of the Center for Economic Information, Analysis, and Forecast under the Central Economic Commission, suggests that Nghệ An needs to consider the favorable factors and challenges in order to develop an appropriate plan and solutions.
The reform of the state apparatus will create a coherent, transparent, and efficient state system, thereby attracting investment. But we must also take into account unfavorable factors.
Despite the high growth rate in recent years, Nghệ An still faces many challenges, such as a relatively small economic scale and a low proportion of the processing industry. To realize the aforementioned target, Nghệ An has identified 3 strategic breakthroughs: institutions, human resources, and infrastructure development. Along with completing the strategic infrastructure system, the province focuses on selective investment attraction, prioritizing the fields of processing and manufacturing industry, high technology, clean energy, and logistics services, strongly improving the investment environment, and comprehensive digital transformation in management and administration are the specific steps that need to be deployed.
This is the end of the show today. Thank you for watching.